Good morning. How are you guys doing? Everything is fine? Everything is cool? Are you guys ready for the Memorial Day? Please be careful, traveling around right now. We need you all safe. Today we're going to talk about how aggression evolved into play and why correcting aggression is wrong, right? So, the reason why I think it's important is because we're coming from a perspective that the idea of aggression is something bad and we should correct it out because it's inappropriate for the dog to be aggressive, and we're not recognizing that actually aggression is very important. I think without aggression, and let's define a little bit the aggression is not a behavior, it's a state of mind. Do we agree on that? Hi, Marian. um, so I was looking into my my evolutionary history, let's call it this way, and I recognize that I was quite aggressive as a young child. um, I would destroy things. I was very angry about stuff, and at some point I was called into becoming aware that my aggression had a negative effect to my environment, and I had to look into understanding why I was aggressive and why the environment didn't like the way I am. And so there was an aha moment at some point over the years, of course, that I had to learn to adjust my aggression to a different level, to a level that is more in alignment with my environment. And later on, I learned to, instead of being aggressive about things, to get things by force and violence, to make a game, a nice game, a game where both parties will win. And that also led to the better understanding how dogs are aggressive. And if we look at, no Nobel Prize winner Konrad Lorenz, he explains that aggression is a necessary tool to survive. And that opened up my mind. It was kind of like, whoa, that's it. So let's look at that a little bit. Let's look at a mammal, a dog, who is free, and he has choices. He goes outside and kills to eat. Why would he do that? And most people would say, yep, yeah, he's a carnivore, he kills. Not really, because dogs are scavengers. We know that. Look at your counter, your countertop. The dog hasn't killed anyone yet, but he's looking to avoid killing. And so he goes after your garbage bin and he goes after your counter. And there's nothing there, or he's being punished to doing so, well, then he's outsourcing, and then he goes after your food bin, or he starts protecting the area where your food bin is, or he's going after the chickens and the hens and the eggs and the cat and whatever comes in front of him. So we see all of a sudden, from just being hungry, he switched into being hungry with option to kill. His aggression didn't change. His aggression idea is still the same. Aggression is not, I feel, is not something that we can compare with violence. Aggression is a drive that keeps you alive. In From our perspective, I don't want to compare these two things, but it's similar. No, aggression is aggression. Let's stick to that. So let's look at the options that a dog has when he's aggressive. The aggression kicks in if the dog runs out of option, and then his sympathetic nervous system kicks in, and his brain basically shuts most of the functions off other than something that helps him survive. Now, if we go back in time, the ancient dog, the dog who just evolved out of a wolf, or to be more precise, out of a prey ancestor of what we know about the wolf. So wolves and dogs have a common ancestors, which is not the wolf. It's kind of like the prey wolf or a prey dog, kind of a prey canid. And back then, where life were hard, the evolution was very clear. If you kill, do it quick, do it painless. Here's why. If it takes you too long to kill and you have fun if the other animal is suffering, you're going to attract all these predators, and you then have to share your food, what you worked on, right? And those who did that choice and had this level of aggression, they starved out, basically because they have to fight with everything around them, and basically what they killed was nothing left because they had to share with it, or even they got killed for it. So that didn't work out for them. But what worked out for them was to make it quick and painless. So it was quiet, and so they had things on their own. So we see that aggression evolved from suffering and killing where the animal was in pain into a quick kill without suffering, so we don't attract any audience. So that's already the evolutionary process. Then the next process was, what if I will not be able to kill on my own? What if my aggression is so aggressive that I will starve to death because I'm going to eat everything that I have available, and then I have to go about bigger animals that I'm not available to kill on my own? And then my aggression has to change because now I have to share. Because in order for me to kill, I need a partner because I cannot do it on my own. And all of a sudden we see that we have an evolution there. We have the evolution that if I cannot kill on my own, I need somebody who kills it with me or for me. And if that has to happen, I have to change my attitude, which means I have to share, because otherwise I end up dead, right? So we see that over the, let's call it 4,500,000 generations of dogs have learned that if you don't share, you're going to die. If you don't team up in a group of smarter than you, you're going to let off hungry. And you don't want that, right? So the bad guys, the really aggressive guys, didn't actually survive, right? So that means that the more they got organized, the more the chances were to survive. Marian says, I feel they also follow Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Well, generally speaking, it's different motivation than feel on act on. Hungry to a motivation to eat, to hunting and killing an animal it can eat. Pretty much. What we're looking for here is to better understand the concept of why the dog makes a choice to show signs that we call aggression and how to change it. So let's go back to the example where the dog has to team up with partners to survive. What if those partners were aggressive? That wouldn't end up well because they're gonna end up in a fight, which means they will both starve and die. So we see then all of a sudden all these bad guys die out, but the guys who survive are the guys who are team players and share things together. Not only that, because they were not as big as we think they were just on the lower side of the predatory, mammals. There were bigger mammals are out there who would take them for lunch and breakfast and snack, just like that, right? So we see that not only they got surviving because they were less aggressive, but they survived because they were able to team up and protect themselves. Because as a predator, in order to hunt and target one prey, you need to be very focused. And to be very focused, you have to slowly Stop paying attention to the environment and focusing how, like, for example, let's see exactly a sharpshooter. A sharpshooter has one eye in the optic and the other eye observing the environment. Well, how is his chances to survive? The better observant he is on the target and on his environment, the better target he would get and the less likely he would be killed. So if you see it from a dog's perspective, the more I can focus into my prey while I'm constantly aware about my environment, the most likely is that I will be successful. And then we have another thing that comes slowly into the thing. If I'm loud and scream and yell, I will chase my prey away. So I have to be quiet. So in order to be quiet and still organizing a hunt, I have to communicate. Now, how do I do that? I have to empathize and be empathetic with my environment so I know how my environment feels so I don't need to yell about it. So if my partner knows how I feel ready to go for a kill, and I feel that my partner is not in a good location to do what I can do, then I take that in consideration when I choose a time, a good location, and a good situation to go for the kill. Now, what we ask the dog to do in his evolutionary process is the more empathy you have, the more social you are, the more likely you will survive. The rest, arrivederci. Back to recycling. So we see suddenly that over these millions of years, the dog evolved from a killer into a team player. And here we end up talking about a team player. How does a team play? Let's look at soccer. I'm a soccer fanatic, not really fanatic. I used to play in the second division in soccer. I was a goalie back then. I was a youngster doing stuff. But let's say, for example, you're a football player or you're any sports that ask you to be a team player. How do you train that team? How do egoists, the guys who always want to make the goal, always want to win themselves, how does it work out with them in the team? It doesn't, right? Because at some point, if they don't get the ball or the game to start with, they will never get the pass. Which means if I want to succeed and make a goal, I have to be in a good position. Then I have to be a good partner. I have to be empathetic with my partner so I know when I'm going to get the pass. My partner has to know when I am in a good position and when I'm ready to do the kick or, score. And then I have to be a fair player. Because if I'm a foul player and I cut off my partner while he's about to do the goal, we're both going to lose. So now we see that evolution not only wants you to be a team player, not only it wants to be emotional intelligence, they don't want to also you to be good in what you do. They ask you to think strategically. Am I or am I not doing good with my partners? How do my partners feel about my behavior? Which then all of a sudden it becomes an organization. It's organized because of each dog feels how he affects his partner in a relationship where both have to succeed, because otherwise I'm going to lose my relationship. So we see suddenly that from aggression, we evolve into be empathetic and be in a relationship. Now, my question is, in that process where you have to have empathy, where you have to be a team player, wouldn't you think empathetic to the prey? Why would you make it a quick kill and not a slow kill? Why would you make a choice that your partner may be a cat, a bird, that is part of your family? Which means not only you are aggressive towards other species, that makes you a predator, But you have to reverse the whole thing. You have to add morals and ethics to the equation, because you don't kill your family, even though they're not the same species. And this is where I'm going with this. If a dog has aggression, it's because something in that evolutionary process that he learned from the beginning of his life, with his genetics, with his environmental factors, didn't work correct, right? So I just see my vacuum cleaner in the past. We are in a job set here, okay? Don't judge me about that vacuum cleaner. It's actually empty. I have it just plugged in to get charged because I have an outlet right back. So yeah, it's a kind of decoration here. So at that point, we see that once we recognize that the reason why dogs evolved as human partners, like partners to humans, and why dogs become man's best friend is because they had this ability at the very beginning, before they end up with people, that they don't kill unless it's absolutely necessary and there is no other option around. Because guess why? It takes a lot of effort to kill. Why not take something that's already out there? Like scavenging, walking around, finding a ready roast beef? Yeah, especially if it's fresh, I'll take it, right? And what if the dogs approach the humans in settlements and say, hey, these guys have yummy food. They don't eat all the things. They have a lot of leftovers. How can we team up? And by the way, these guys are weird. They sit there, they make tools, they're successful hunters. Maybe we should team up with them. Maybe if they can dig holes and big mammoths fall in and they have tools to cut them up, maybe if we make them feel safe, they're going to share what they get, because they will never be able to eat the whole thing. It's too much for them. And what if we could team up with them and help them bring the mammoth in that direction where the hole is, and so we have an earlier lunch today? And this is kind of simplified, okay? It gets a little more complicated. But evolutionary people who had dogs who knew what to do were most successful in their settlements than people who had no dogs who knew what to do. And then those people who had dogs who didn't know what to do, but knew how to train the dog to do what to do, were even more successful of those who were lucky to have a dog who knew what to do, but they had no clue. So we see not only we evolve as humans in settlements, but also the dog evolved with us. And here's where I'm coming back to square one. What if we didn't want to eliminate aggression? We needed it, but we created different versions of aggression that was kind of like a tool to us. We want the dog to be aggressive to kill a prey, but we don't want the dog to kill us, even though we could be prey. We don't want the dog to kill our children, but we want the dog to kill some more animals of other species because we need them to survive. So now we see that the key factor of making aggression reduce in the amount that is acceptable in a social setting was to implement morals and ethics into that relationship, teaching the dog that if you kill family, you're going to end up dead because the family will not be able to support you. If you go after the family will outcast you, then you will be alone and you will not make it through. So there is this internal knowledge, an internal fear that if I screw up with my family, I'm going to end up dead. The question is, who is family? If I adopt a dog out of a shelter, am I his family? No, I'm not. Am I his best friend? Nope, I'm not either. What am I? I am a predator, just like anybody else out there that he had to fight to survive. So his aggression that got him into the shelter, because something was done to him aggressively, caused him to come back to his original thought. Aggression, killing, is what helps you survive. And because no morals and ethics are in place and no relationships are in place, he has no problem killing for it. Now, let's say, worst case scenario, I'm going to that shelter and I find this cute guy. I mean, he's stinking cute, right? He killed a couple of cats, right? He beat a child. Is this guy doomed to die? Is his aggression irreversible? Is there anything I can do to help the dog not being so aggressive? Yes, there is. First of all, if we look at this evolutionary process, how did the dog got from killing for pleasure? I don't think so, but to get the hunt, and not being a successful good killer, likely make him lose the prey, to make him a very smart, intelligent, emotionally intelligent, social dog. If we capture that, then we recognize the reason why he's aggressive is because there are many factors missing in his education. It is in his genetics, because 4 million generations is not something you can kind of sweep away. It is there. And we know that trauma and genetic information is being passed down up to 17 generations. It can show up after 17 generation, meaning is even if his ancestors did wrong, his pre-ancestors did right. So even that has the evolutionary theory kind of find out that even if 2 generations are bad and would eventually mean that the whole breed will drown, there's an old pattern to it. Well, the ancestors worked it out. So we go back to the 17th generation, worked just fine, and refer to that. Which means it is in the dog's body, stored in each individual memory, that information that was placed there 4 million years ago. Sorry, 4 million generations ago, or even earlier. That means that if he can access that information, I can turn the dog around. What is that information? That information is, who am I in relationship to you? Which leads us to the point to ask the question, well, what makes it different? Who am I in that relationship, and who are you in that relationship? It's the same question if we ask, what's the dog relationship with the prey, and what's the dog relationship with his partner? So we have a secure attachment relationship that makes the dog being in good relationship with his partner, and have these secure interactions of information. Somebody knows more than the other, they share it. Somebody keeps the other one safe. And who is the first one who does it? The parents. Here we go. So we're back to square one. Parents evolve their knowledge being transmitted to their offspring. Their offspring do similar things to the parent. Take that in consideration, what they have taught them through the genetics and through these environmental interactions at daily basis, and then take it to the next level. But how can parents give that information about their environment? And we look at dogs, what do? They play. They play, they chew, they do things, they explore, they hurt themselves, they fall over, right? That's what they do. Let's look at the humans a little bit. How do children learn? Do they study? No. He's too young to study. He cannot even clean his butt. Yet he learns. He learns when this belly pushes and this little hole at the end opens up, shit comes out. And if shit comes out and you're not in the toilet and you're wearing pants, that shit is all over the place and then you're hurt. What do? You cry. Cry gets your mom back. Mom cleans you up. Life is good, right? So the puppy learns, the dog learns, the person learns, the child learns from how he interacts with his environment, and if somebody is there to help him getting out of his misery. At no point in that evolutionary process there was aggression to educate the dog. No. What helps the dog educate and evolve was the lack of aggression. You see where I'm coming from? The modified type of aggression, from aggression to kill with no empathy into aggression to kill with empathy, and then the choice finally to not kill because there's something available that is already dead. Which means if I take that in consideration in a game, I can teach my child and my dog to not hurt to get, but to interact to get, to kind of have this conversation and social skills to, hey, you don't have to share your toy, but what if you share and the other toy is being shared with you? That will have you double the experience, because not only you can play with your toy, but you can play also with his toy. Huh? How would that work? And how about if you're not following instructions and you go in a direction that's dangerous to you and you're going to get hurt? While if you're listening to what I have to say, you avoid getting hurt. And how do you know how hurt do's like? How do you know that if I tell you something is going to hurt? Is because I played as a parent with you, exposing you to a situation that will not hurt, but you will get the experience what would happen if that would be real. What if your emotions are being trained because I show you that this emotion has this outcome and this emotion has this outcome, without correcting you for thinking or feeling that way, is by showing you the outcome of your actions. So we see suddenly that there is no reason to treat aggression with aggression because it's going to kill. But you can treat aggression with play, and you can treat aggression with education, and you can treat aggression with morals and ethics, and have the dog then make a choice whether or not to use that level of aggression versus use a level of aggression that is so low that is actually fun to play with. So aggression is needed for the dog to survive. Aggression is needed to interact with each other. Aggression is needed to have fun. It's just the level of it that makes the difference. The level of showing aggression and play the fight and the game of prey and predator, which helps you survive in the future, or being so violent that you actually kill your partner yet you depend on and you both end up dead. So when we're going back to dog training and how to heal aggression, because many people says you cannot heal aggression. Aggression is out there. I agree with you. Aggression is out there and you should not correct it. You should transmute it. You should upgrade it. You should upcycle it to a different level, to a level that a dog actually benefits from it. His environment benefits from it. Now, the question is, okay, dude, that sounds awesome, but my dog has no clue what's going on in his environment. He just shuts down and attacks whatever moves. How would you address that? That's a good question. I struggled with that myself a couple of years ago. And I thought, well, you know what? That's the only reason I would use aggression is because that dog is so violent. You have to use aggression to stop the violence. But then I was thinking, well, you have fire and you have a flame. What fuel do you use? Every fuel you use, it just makes things worse. Or, wait a minute. If you can extinguish fire of gasoline by using an explosion to remove oxygen from the fire, then you're gonna win, right? Sure. Yeah. In oil rigs, when oil rigs are burning, or oil holes like pump stations are burning, they use that explosion to explode oxygen away from it and then extinguish the fire. But the environment is destroyed as well. So that option is not always working well, and especially if you're in an environment where people and children are the pets, because that aggression will affect the other dogs. Seeing that aggression being applied causes domestic violence. Which means if you go aggressively towards your dog that shows aggression, you show everybody else that aggression is the way to go, which is a trap. You don't want to go that way, do you? What if the only way to get the dog out of his aggression is to understand what he is afraid of to show that aggression? Because remember when we talked in the very beginning, the reason why the dog is aggressive because he wants to survive. What makes the dog feel the need to survive? Everything is here. He has food, he has toys, he has friends, and yet he chooses to be aggressive. What's wrong with him? If that would be the aggressive dog, what's wrong with him is in here. Right, T-Bone? In here, in that little brain in there are filters that go in. Are you chewing on my toy? T-Bone is like, oh, can I play with it? In here, there is a filter that covers the thoughts of a dog. And what is that filter? Welcome to the trauma world. If that dog, in his past, was exposed to a traumatic experience that basically told him, no matter what's going to happen, you're unsafe. No matter what you're going to do, if you don't kill, you're going to get killed. Then that perception of environment and that empathy is down to zero. So the fear takes weight, and all you're going to get is a dog who is like this. His heavy brain is full of trauma, pulls the dog down, and his experience is zero. So his experience is zero. His trauma brain takes over. He has no clue what he's doing to his environment. And you want to add aggression to that cocktail? Well, let me explain. Yes, you could. You could use a dynamite to extinguish the fire and causing the environment to go with it. But what if you prove that oxygen can go away without the use of explosives? What if I protect the flame from oxygen? That actually works. In the oil fields, basically what they do is they come up with a bell, like a huge bell, a concrete bell or a metal bell, and they cover it up like a blanket over it, and oxygen cannot get in there. Sometimes also they use foam. It's kind of like a source of non-oxygen containing bubbles that extinguish the fire. So it's not violent. It doesn't damage the environment. It makes a mess though, but it works without the use of violence and aggression in that case. So what can we use for dogs to do that? We can use, how do we remove the oxygen? If you use that method of removing the oxygen, what if I remove what the dog is scared of? The dog is scared of that if he doesn't have enough food, he's going to die. So here are source guards. Good, you say, easy peasy, hand feeding. That would solve the problem. Usually not. It makes a little bit feel better, but not really. Resource guarding doesn't go away because the fear is still out there. It's not healed. What if the reason why the dog has his trauma in his mind, his trauma brain, is caused because he never had the feeling of safety at the first place? That somebody's there for the dog to keep him safe is what the evolutionary theory says, is they evolve because they feel safe. They evolve because they are organized. and they evolved because they were empathetic. Huh. So that dog who is aggressive doesn't feel safe, doesn't feel anything of his environment, and all he thinks is going to happen is it's going to kill him. And here's where the healing process starts. Reversing that mindset and offering him first safety. Somebody who's actually listened to that dog. When he says, I'm scared and I'm going to kill it before it kills me. And all you have to do is make his problem go away. Just like this. So you take away that oxygen that fuels that fire of aggression that the dog feels he's going to kill for it. And what happens is, if you're always there, make things go away, then what will the dog do? He will look out for you. He will look out for you and says, hey, are you going to deal with that too? And you're like, yep, I'm going to deal with that too. I'll make sure you're safe, buddy. How do you get the dog to think about that? If we said before, if a dog is exposed to a situation, it's going to shut down. This is where the play comes in. What if, before the dog is exposed to a danger and a trigger, what if I can create a game where my dog learns in a safe environment that checking in with me solves his problems without actually exposing him to a problem? The idea of a problem is good enough to help him figure that out. The idea that there is a problem, that he has to make a choice, if either or, is better to check in with you than try to deal with his own. So therefore, that you're here always to help your dog going through that process of making right choices. Why would he go through the concept of fighting with himself if you're right there to help him? Well, the genetics kick in and says, hey, dude, remember? Cooperate, check in with your partner, see if anybody's available to help you because that keeps us surviving. Good, nice thought. Reward that. Reward that choice of a dog. When you play a game of choices, treat. See, I have two treats. Yum, 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 right? Drool. Which one do you want? And your dog says, are you kidding me? You have two treats. I want both treats. But they're in two different locations. And you're like, yeah, right? And how do you feel that? It's kind of like having a bunny and a bunny in two different locations. Which one would you pick to win? Well, the chances are 50-50. If you pick this one will go. If you pick this one, the other one will go. Now, which one do you think is the better choice? And your dog come to the conclusion, he doesn't have the answer. I don't know. Here you go. Thank you for telling me that you don't know. Thank you for considering checking in with me, telling me that you don't know. Because I have the answer. The moment you check in with me, you get both treats. How does it sound to you, in theory? If the dog learns through that game that if you have a complex situation that you cannot make a choice which one is the better one, and you check in with me, I solve your problem, how would you feel about if there is really a problem? Am I or am I not an option available to pick you up? And then you benefit from it. So if you go down the road and you show me when exactly is that moment of your discomfort before you lose your shit, your discomfort, what if you show me the moment of your discomfort, and even if you don't ask the question, I know when you need it because you help me understand when is that point, then I'll help you out and get your attention. Hey, remember, there is a choice. And you're like, oh yeah, duh. You have the answer? Yep, I have the answer in that case too. And like, cool, what do we do? I think we should do this. And you're like, right, we can do this. I mean, you seem to be right all the time. I guess I'm gonna check in with you and see if your version works. And voila, it does work. Now, how do we get the dog to show us that? Picture this. I'm using here my little husky puppy. It's kind of very helpful because my dog is passed out here. It's not going to be very helpful today. So if you have a treat and your dog is looking to the right treat and the left treat, right? The moment he took at you, he gets both treats. You will see that the dog at some point, while he checks in with the right or the left treat, he shows certain signs of stress. The minimum stress necessary that feeds aggression. It's kind of like that little flame in your gas burner that keeps the pilot flame on. So a dog has aggression on a pilot flame all the time. Your goal or your target is to find that flame and turn it down to the minimum amount necessary to keep the flame going without extinguishing. You need that flame because that flame makes the dog do things. That dog make his aggression become a play for you, which means the more flame you have available, the better game you have, but too much flame will cause the burn and you don't need that. So how do we find that? By observing. When you do the first exercise with your dog, let him smell the treats and then open up your arms. Observe the dog behavior pattern. Ears back, wrinkles, everything. You observe how it escalates to the point where the dog says, I don't know what to do with it. And then he looks at you. Remember that sequence that comes in, because that sequence is how aggression escalates from a game into a kill. This little ladder. So in the past, there was a person who says, oh, that ladder of aggression is such a bullshit. I just recognize that the context of that is wrong. We see the escalation of aggression is a bad thing. It is not. It's a tool to survive. We just have to see what the flame is fueling it. That oxygen is the lack of knowledge. The less knowledge I have about the outcome of my event, the more flame I will have to solve it. Which means the less information I have about the incident, the less information I have about how I will survive the situation, the more aggressive I have to be proactively to survive. That is interesting, right? What do you guys think so far? Does it ring a bell? Does it trigger anything to you? Do you have any guys questions? I mean, we are having conversation here. I'm having a monologue right now because you guys not talking a lot. It's just me talking here. I don't being aggressive or something, am I, right? Let's do that game. Homework for all of you. Test it. Prove me wrong. That if you don't give your dog that option to pick right or left, and give him that option that you can help him, that he will not take advantage of it. Now, here's a few things that you will understand. I'm explaining it right now. What options your dog has making that choice to check in with you. If a dog has a minimum aggression, right, he will likely go after your hands. He says poking them, pawing them, licking them. He wants what you have, which is a healthy type of aggression, leash. Okay? That doesn't include how you feel about that treat that you have in your hands. He's ignoring that you are actually the owner of those treats, that they're yours, that those hands are associated to you. He doesn't see that. All he sees is the hyper focus on what he wants. So his aggression kicks in. I want that. I don't give a bark about anything other than that. And then you have a dog who's hyper focused or pokes, bites, nuzzles, even barks at you. That is the fight drive that we say the dog has fight, freeze, and fight response, right? On stressors when he's about to survive. Now, what if the dog doesn't do that? Is there another option? Yes. A dog who is in flight response, he's like, oh, oh shit, we have a problem here. I'm gonna leave the scene right now because who knows how that's gonna end. I'm out. And he walks away. That tells you that a dog's brain is hardwired with a flight response, while the other guy before that was hardwired into a fight response. And then we have the guys who are like, what the guys are these guys? These are the guys who are stuck. Freeze response. They suffer. They don't know either or. That's the worst case. So what do we do with that? So if your dog walks away, you keep waiting because he's coming back in to check and see if that situation still exists. If that situation he got himself into is still dangerous, but you're still there offering the treats that he wants, so it mustn't be so dangerous because nothing happened bad so far. And then what do we do with a guy who really goes after your hand? Eventually will bite you for it, bite your face off. So take it with a grain of salt. Keep your safety. If your dog is not responding, if you can predict he's going to respond, he's going to bite you for it, let's talk about that. There are other options for that. We're going to go with the value of the dog perception of how much is he worth to kill for it. So don't go with hot dogs in that case. You go down with a low treat, something that even he doesn't like. Something that he really doesn't like. Because once he thinks that you have something that he wants that you're worth being killed for, what if he knows that's not really worth it? And he will check in with you and say, hey, I don't like that shit. You have something better? And you're like, yeah, I have something in my back pocket. You like that? And he's like, oh, wow. I didn't think of that. Dude, that's awesome. Because I thought you have nothing to give me. But yet you come up with a plan. I did not expect that. That was a surprise. But it was a learning process. It was a learning process that if you fight hard about it, you're not going to get it. If you fight about it, it may not be worth the fight. And then once you give up on it, once you let it go, once you trust your partner, that will be a win. Without any application of force, without any application of violence or aggression on your part, you teach the dog a lesson. Hey, if you want to go for it, it's not going to work. If you walk away from it, it's not going to work. If you get stuck with it, it's not going to work. What works is flirting with it. And what works is asking a favor. So now I'm introducing you a concept. Freeze, fight, flight, flirt, favor. 5 F's. Okay? Don't make a different translation out of it. F would not work. So think about that. What if the reason why your dog is aggressive is he lacks on 2 factors, flirt and favor? He does not know how to flirt with the situation. He thinks the situation is going to kill him on sight. And what if the dog doesn't know how to ask you for a favor because he believes that he's alone, he doesn't have anyone to support? This is what gets you out of aggression. Teaching the dog that there is this way to look at it and observe it and see if it really is going to kill you or not. And then there is an option that if you ask for help and support, is being given to you and you will be more successful. How would that work? Can you see that plan? Can you see that event happening? Can you see that game? Create that game. Create that game by doing this couple of times. And then you see when you do the good time, your dog is like, I know that game. I just ask you. Why would I deal with this crap? You're going to give me the solution anyway. Yes, you're right. Here we go. And then the next round, you're going to teach him something more. But we're running out of time here. And that's a teaser for next time, because next time I give you the evolved version of the first exercise, the second version, where the dog has to make a crucial choice, a moral and ethical choice. I'm going to talk about next Saturday. So, to not losing that option, you have to subscribe or follow me, whatever is easier for you. Not me personally, the page that you're looking at. So if you're looking from YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're looking for Facebook, follow me on that page or in that group, and make sure you get notifications, because I think this is a game changer for those people who deal really with aggressive dogs, where you cannot even approach an aggressive dog because he's going to bite you, because you can do that exercise through a safety barrier and it works, because all you have to prove that you are not the one your dog expects you to be. If the dog expects you to be violent and you're going to kill him and he wants to kill you in return, and you prove him that you're here to offer a solution and he is the beneficiary of that solution, he's going to take you on that, and you're going to win him to your side, and he's going to trust you. And if he trusts you, then you both will win, because he will open up to a completely new environment, to a completely new perception that the world is not out here to kill me. The world is here to educate me. And that is where the healing process starts. Through trust, through partnership, through cooperation, through emotional intelligence, and through observations, and who evolving your skills with every time experience, better and better and better. And I hadn't used any violence so far. And I know you guys see it as a theory, but I don't want you to show you how good I am. I want me to prove you how good you are doing that. So, what I would like you to do, kind of like as a gig, record the first interactions with you and your dog. Set up a phone. My hand. Set up a phone. Put it on selfie mode. Take a tripod. If you don't have a tripod, put two books on a sandwich. Have your kids hold the phone. Have your husband hold the phone. But best is if you do it yourself. Have totally neutral. Don't tell your dog what to do. It's a free will exercise. And trust me, if you grab these things together on your treats, your dog will come to you. Right? What's up? And tell him what you have. And says, yeah, we have a problem here. There is that treat and this treat. Which one do you want? Oh man, there are two treats. I want both treats. I don't know what to do. There you go. Problem solved. Who am I? And your dog is like, oh man, you're awesome. You solved my problem. Awesome. Let me know how that goes. Record it. Send it to me. Post it in the group or where you are when you're watching that in the comments. And let's talk about it. How that goes. Thanks for watching. And if you liked it, I hope you share it. And if you share it, please leave a comment in your sharing comment and tell why it's interesting to watch it, or why that idea is totally stupid. You shouldn't watch it, right? I learned sometimes my dog will try one time to snap and get the treats when I let him smell them, but then he remembers, oh, you go. Yeah, done. Okay. But once we go outside, sound still makes him hyper-focused right away. Yeah, because he gets overwhelmed before you even leave the door. That's something we can work on, is to help the dog to learn to check in with you and tell you when he's ready to go for a walk. Because I think you're rushing here a little bit. You're going out too quickly and he's not ready to process it. And you think a walk is how to solve it, but actually a no walk is how to solve it. Help your dog tell you how far he can go and when it's enough. And then your solution will be his healing process, will help. Thanks again for guys watching, and talk to you next Saturday, same time.